Amor and John had some great points about where the Philippines has opportunities, where there are challenges, where it lacks. So I thought, let's talk about moving from evolution to revolution and what can we do. I have taken the liberty of going beyond 2021 as well. I have put in a slightly longer term perspective, maybe 5 to 10 years, because I think it's important when we plan for the national ecosystem to think about the medium to long term as well. So this is the fintech vocabulary, and I'll quickly try and run through it today. Basically, we'll be looking at the A, B, C, D, and E of fintech. Then we'll look at the 4 Fs. We'll look at the PQR, and then we'll look at the key challenges of S, T, U, and V. So please bear with me. I'm trying to be a bit tongue-in-cheek here, but in 10 minutes, this is the best I can do to crisply share what are the opportunities, challenges, and how we can leapfrog and not just evolve. So clearly, technology is going to be a key enabler, and John has touched upon it extremely well, so I won't go into too much detail. But the ABCD of fintech, and this is not just limited to the Philippines, but across ASEAN, across Asia. We've seen it happen in China, India, Indonesia. So clearly, AI, blockchain, cloud, and data are the holy ABCD of fintech, and we'll see more and more of this. I don't have time to go into detail of how each one of these is shaping, influencing, enabling the fintech landscape, but I think most of us understand. So AI in terms of front office, back office, middle office applications, from RPA to chatbots, etc. Blockchain, of course, a lot has been said, and as both Amor and John said, it started off with speculation and even a lot of unsavory practices, but now it's becoming mainstream. Governments are using blockchain for applications as diverse as digital ID, and corporations are using it for more seamless and efficient processes. And now we are seeing the boom in digital assets as well. Cloud, of course, there's not much to be said. We have our colleagues from Huawei here, which is one of the leaders in cloud, and we are seeing more and more of the world go to cloud. In fact, Philippines, as both Amor and John said, has been a leader, and BSP and ADB have been extremely supportive of this. We saw one of the first cloud bank projects with Kantilan Bank. So Philippines, again, has been understated, but it has been quite ahead of the curve. Data, everybody talks about it. So again, I won't go into too much detail, but I do want to add that it's important to, when we talk about data, it's important to, sorry, just 1 second. I think I lost my full screen here. To think about responsible use of data. And we are seeing a lot of it. I could go into a lot of detail. We've seen China clamp down. We've seen the United States just a couple of days back. The DOJ is, kind of going after the big techs like Google and Facebook, and they have launched a suit on them. So it's data is going to be a big enabler, but it has to be used in the right way, smartly, safely, and without it being exploitative. And of course, beyond all of this, I think the most important factor here is the E, which is ecosystem. Technology is there. Technology is available to everybody, to all countries, to all players. In fact, technology with SaaS and cloud has become more of a hygiene factor and a level playing field rather than a differentiator. What will differentiate is how vibrant the ecosystem is. And this is where my compliments to Amor, to the Philippines Fintech Association and the various associations here for trying to bring together the key stakeholders. That will shape, John and Amor spoke about Singapore, Indonesia, etc. One of the reasons is they have a very deep and vibrant ecosystem. So that's something the Philippines can try and look forward to and replicate here as well. Then now that we've seen the A, B, C, D, and E, let's look at the 4 Fs. What is it resulting in, and what is it leading to? Faster, frictionless, fun. We know transactions are becoming faster. They are becoming more seamless and omni-channel. Especially with the millennial customers, we are looking at gamification coming in, social aspects of payments coming in, whether you look at WeChat or WhatsApp or how Venmo started in the US. And also freemium as well, right? More and more of these services will become faster, frictionless, fun, but there will be challenges on revenue models. So customers are so used to the premium model now that this will start becoming more and more mainstream, especially with the millennials. So fintechs will have to think about sustainable ways to make money profitable, on an ongoing basis, while servicing these three Fs as well. And then, of course, the key enablers. I think enough has been said about the role of the regulators here, so I won't go into too much detail, but essentially policies and regulations have decisively moved from being seen as impediments, hurdles, obstacles, bottlenecks to actually being facilitators. And again, many of us who've worked with multiple central banks and engaged with the BSP and seen it firsthand, kudos and compliments to them for being very, very progressive, open-minded, and fair. And the idea of moving from activity-driven, from versus entity-driven, which was the original mindset of central banks. And the Q here is, of course, QR code, as we've seen in ASEAN as well. I used to run the payment business for Citi many years ago, including in the Philippines. And at that time, one of our biggest challenges was economics. It's not that we didn't want to go to more provinces, to more of the smaller towns, but the economics didn't work out when you had those POS machines which cost $200 each. So you could only enable a merchant who was probably more than a certain volume. And now with QR code, we have ubiquity and we have a very, very cheap way to drive outreach, which is where inclusion will be driven. So policies along with QR codes will be the way to drive inclusion. And of course, last mile connectivity and infrastructure that John referred to as well. I won't repeat that. I won't go into too much detail. We all know what the government, the BSP, and of course, supporting agencies like ADB, etc., have done. But things like NRPS, things like the biometric national ID, eKYC, the virtual banking licenses, open finance, all of these are good things for the ecosystem. And the regulator is playing the role of an ecosystem enabler. Finally, some challenges. It's not all rosy, and we should take an honest look at things. What are the challenges? But I actually believe these are opportunities in challenges if we kind of work towards it in a focused manner and in the right manner. So of course, the STUNV, skills and talent is a challenge and a gap, and not just in the Philippines, in Indonesia, elsewhere as well. I had the pleasure earlier of this year of working with the Indonesian regulator OJK along with World Bank on helping build their national policy papers. One of them was on digital talent development. So the same challenges exist in other countries as well. And what is important for the Philippines is to focus more and more on STEM education and deeper industry academia collaboration. And in my own small way, I'm trying to do that, coming from industry now, bridging the gap with academia as well. And we just launched our first ever full fintech elective program for MBA and EMBA programs in AIM. So there are baby steps being taken, but more needs to be done. And finally, U via V. So we need to service the unbanked and the underbanked, and as a more said, even the underinsured, underrepresented, undercovered. So we cannot have a fintech industry without overlooking these important social objectives. And can these new virtual banks play a role in this? Many of them talk about servicing the unbanked and the underbanked with cheaper processes, simpler account opening, eKYC, ease of transaction, etc. But here is an opportunity which the industry must seize upon, in my view. So with this, I come to the end of my very short presentation. Hopefully this vocabulary has given you something to ponder and reflect on. And we can continue to discuss more on this on the panel. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat.